Welcome to Glambition, a show where we celebrate the beautiful women of Africa. Now, today in particular, we're discussing competitive beauty and beauty pageants. Are beauty pageants still relevant in this modern day and age? Some people think it's a negative concept. Some people think that it actually helps women to launch their careers. For me, it was very positive. In fact, my career in the media industry started with winning Miss South Africa. So let's take a trip down memory lane with me. Looking back at the last 12 years, I can see how winning the Miss SA title back in 2000 put my life on a totally different course. I was a 19-year-old student in law and economics at Stellenbosch University. My most designer clothing item in my wardrobe were my 2-year-old Levi jeans, and I was the girl in the class with the neatest notes, a total nerd. And then, by taking a chance and entering the pageant, a whole new world opened up for me. All of a sudden, my wardrobe filled up with dresses by top designers like Gideon, the designer assigned to me for the pageant night, but someone who has now grown into a lifelong friend. In fact, he also designed my wedding dresses as a gift last year. Now, I've asked him to design my dress again for the pageant broadcast, and seeing him and his partner Gianpaolo and catching up with them is a welcome distraction from all the emotions running rampant behind the scenes. Bridget Masinga, my co-host, was first runner-up to Cindy Nell in 2002 and has also become a friend, as she's such a charismatic character. It's lovely to see her putting the ladies at ease and having someone to reminisce with. Being back and hosting the pageant brings back such memories. Back then, our chaperone Davey would joke that my roommate and first runner-up Laila and I were the two disasters on 4 feet, as we were always in trouble. Back then, I was chasing down celebs for pictures with my old disposable camera, and now people come up to me for pictures. I'm also able to just be silly at times and enjoy the pageant, as for me, my competition is over. Now I just get to have fun and enjoy the show. The dances, the set, the entire production is always something I enjoy watching. The whole setup, to see it all develop into a slick production. As the host, I get to see the whole drama unfold in the build-up to the pageant and see how friendships are made, but also how one's patience is tested. You learn a lot about yourself in a competitive environment, and while you make friends, let's not forget that all the finalists want the crown and are in it to win it. I remember that night so clearly, winning, being ushered straight into a press conference, only having 5 minutes to see my parents and explain to them that I was moving to Johannesburg for the next year, as of the next day. Finally, the crown was pinned so tightly to my hair on the night of the pageant that I slept with it on, as I didn't want to wake anyone at that hour to come and help me. It was a daunting and scary time. I was still so unsure of myself. Looking back now, I realize that my insecurities back then were magnified by the fact that the media would scrutinize and criticize. In fact, I remember a top DJ at that point remarked that he'd never seen an uglier Miss SA. Now, as I watch the young girls getting ready for the big event, I am excited for them, but I also feel a little protective as I've walked that road, and I know that the label Beauty Queen is one with two sides. But the good side outweighs the bad side by a huge margin. Sitting with me on set now, we have Laila, who was actually there on the night of my crowning as Miss South Africa 12 years ago as my first runner-up. Laila, welcome.
Thanks so much.
Now, for you, take me back. How did you feel that night of the pageant?
I think the experience itself was absolutely amazing. People don't realize how educational the actual experience is. The night of the competition, not so amazing. I mean, I was completely devastated, as you know.
I remember.
That you were crowned because word was that I was going to be the winner. So that's what I was preparing myself for. I had worked towards that for many, many years. And then all of a sudden, you snatched it. So I wanted to pull the crown off your head, literally.
But luckily, we were friends. So at least that played a better dynamic in it as well, because we actually both planned to win and come second.
You're completely right. I mean, we used to say that we were going to be first and second, and we had a little dance, which I will not do now at this point in my life.
Bring it.
A little dance that we'd do, and we said we'd take first and second place. We shared a room, so that made things a whole lot easier for me. And in fact, after the competition, it took a while for me to get over.
Well, everybody knew you were the favorite, to me as well. I mean, even my dad said that you were his favorite, so for me it was sort of like, okay, dealing with that. But now your life has gone on a different sort of course because you're a top lawyer now, you have 2 sons. Do you think that if you look back at Miss SA, that it played the role in your life that it was supposed to, if you look at destiny and all those things working out?
I was always very clear on the fact that I wanted to be a lawyer. I mean, I had decided that when I was 8 and watched LA Law because I was convinced it was as glamorous as that. So I don't know if my life would have taken a different path or if I would have landed up at the very same place that I am now. The one thing I am clear about is I don't particularly like the limelight. I don't like being in the public eye. So perhaps managing that dimension would have been very difficult for me. So where I am now suits me perfectly. I mean, this is where I wanted my life to be. I wanted the white picket fence, you know, with the kids and the man and a good job, that sort of thing. So I'm very happy with what my life has turned out to be.
Joining us in studio now, we have the second princess from Miss South Africa in 2002, Bridget Masenga-Kati, who's now a TV producer and a media guru, and just absolutely gorgeous. Mwah, hello.
Hello,
gorgeous.
honey, how are you? Hi.
Beautiful Loving all this love here, hey? We're having fun on Glambition.
We stick together.
We stick together. There is all congregated. But I want to find out from you.
Yes.
So, second runner-up, you had Tammy Ann Forte and Cindy Nell. Leanne Liebenberg, a very strong year. How did you feel when you were announced as third place?
Firstly, when I was in the pageant, I didn't realize I was in a pageant. You know, you kind of do something on a whim.
Yes. So you
just to-do list.
Very spontaneously entered.
Very spontaneous, back burner, to-do list. I was from the generation you congregate, you watch Miss South Africa. I watched your year, I watched every year.
Do you give the girls notes and
give
points?
Give the notes, have the book, compare last year's one. Okay, this one was, you know, I was from that generation. So back of the mind, I thought, I want to enter spontaneously. Let me do it, why not? And you're thinking, wait a minute, I'm actually in Miss South Africa. I'm in a competition.
And I could win this.
And I could win this, you know? So you get excited. So come finale night and they make the top 5 announcement. I'm like, okay, I knew this was going to be this way. I anticipated this. Then they go, second princess. And I think it was Nicole Fox. And she's like, second princess, Bridget Masenga. And I'm like, I'm second! Still, didn't click rather than sink in. 2 days later, I think to myself, oh wait, I lost Miss South Africa.
So you looked at it that way?
You know, I was like, the whole night, let's have a party, let's get it on. I was so excited. Then it dawns on me, wait, I lost the car. I see the crown, I lost the car.
But now, how does one compare, for example, a beauty like yourself to an Indian beauty, to a white beauty? How does one define African beauty in this very diverse country?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's such a diverse country. And I think every cultural and racial group has their own particular kind of beauty. And I think the wonderful thing about the Miss SA pageant is that we have moved away from the Eurocentricity of it all, you know. You don't necessarily have to be a white girl with blonde hair, blue eyes. The Miss SA pageant has managed to embrace all different kinds of beauties.
From African beauties on our couch to African beauties on the continent, we've also exported to other countries like France, where they had the first ever black Miss France, Sonia Roland, coming up after the break. Sonia Roland and her family left Rwanda because of the political situation there and settled in France. Years later, she's one of the country's most celebrated actresses who also got her ticket to success by becoming the first ever black Miss France.
It was the first time I get an experience of pageant. I didn't know anything about beauty pageant and everything, even modeling. I was a basketball player, I was like this kind of tomboy, you know. So I arrived there and it was crazy because maybe it would be the first time we'll see the kind of girl like me in this beauty pageant. And they said, what are you here exactly for? And I said, for the money. But the French people show that they are open because they choose me as a Miss France. And I was very proud of that. Miss France saved my life. When I became Miss France, everything was open in front of me. I said to everyone, I said, in 10 years, you will talk about me as an actress. People knows me as a celebrity because of Miss France and everything. So they don't want to see me as actress. It's difficult. I waited 8 years for that. 8 years, and I start with a super director, which name is Radu Mihailanu. We start in a movie in Cameroon, and after that I did 2 years and a half of series. I did 50 episodes of this, and take time. There is a lot of people in France, but they don't know their origin, and so they're, I think, a little frustrated by that. Me, I know my origin. I was born in Africa. I was born in Rwanda. I know where I come from. I was very surprised that people were talking about my skins and my color. They were afraid to talk about black, mixed, Asian. I said, my mom, she's black. My father's white. We have no problem to talk about that, you know. I'm mixed. I'm not more black or white or whatever. I'm mixed. My father said one day, you're very famous, you have to talk for the people, you know? Because now it's time to open your mouth. It's weird, but people recognize me as a black woman who defends black people. And I said, no, I'm just a normal person who wants to defend something very important. We have to fight as women first, because we are women in a man's world, but it's very difficult. And also because we are mixed, and mixed means a lot of difficulty. We're not white, we're not black, we are in the middle, and we have to understand it, everyone, you know? To succeed also, you have to be a soldier.
Well, from a Miss France of mixed ethnicity to a Miss South Africa who everybody actually believed was of mixed ethnicity. I mean, explain that to me. Everybody sort of wanted to claim you as their own.
True.
You're Portuguese, Afrikaans.
Yes, yes. My dad's Portuguese, my mom's Afrikaans, and somewhere in between Marilyn popped up. So I sort of took it to my advantage.
Because everybody was like, she's
yeah,
coloured.
she's coloured, she's Indian, she's white. So I'm sort of adaptable and approachable to as many races as possible in the country, which I feel is good. I mean, I can represent more people.
Now, when you look back at your Miss SA time thus far, obviously there's a lot of comparisons to Melinda, and people say sometimes you almost wish that the Miss SA before you isn't as loud and proud and out there, because it doesn't give you as much pressure when you win the crown. How's it been for you actually following in Melinda's footsteps?
It has been a roller coaster ride. I mean, I am my own person, yes, but let's face it, Melinda was absolutely a wow Miss SA. And that just puts the expectations of the South Africans at such a high level now for me to follow. I mean, each Miss South Africa has brought their own part to the title, and she's brought such a large part. So it's a big deal for me to actually step up to the game. But I think at the end of the day, it's remaining who I am, and remembering that out of all the girls, I was chosen for my personality and not for other reasons. I was being myself throughout the competition, so I should be myself throughout the year.
Marilyn, dish me some dirt. I mean, was there any sort of behind-the-scenes fighting and rivalry? What was it like in the weeks building up to the pageant?
There was absolutely no cattiness.
But I don't believe that.
Honestly, the top 12 girls were absolutely stunning. Of course, I mean, put 12 girls in the same room for 2 weeks, there's bound to be tension. The estrogen levels are flying high, and you're in a competition. So I think people just got a little bit agitated with each other. We go to our rooms at night, sleep the next morning, everything's all 100%. So. Okay. No dirt, sorry.
Well, Marilyn, to offer you some more sisterly advice, we've got a gorgeous ex-Miss South Africa in our midst, Bokang Monjane, who also went on to being awarded the African Queen during her Miss World pageant. Hello, my gorgeous. Good to see you and good to have you on set.
Thank
you.
How are you?
Lovely. Looking stunning.
Now, I know with you, everybody knows you've got an opinion, and if you have an opinion, you're going to give it, which I love about you. What was your Miss South Africa year like?
It was a very tough year, and I think I went into it knowing what I want to put in and knowing what I want to get out. And sometimes you need to put up a fight. And I promise you, each and every single thing I put on that list, I actually got it done.
Now, take me through Miss Universe, Miss World. What was that like for you, international pageants? Because to me, I always find it difficult when people try to compare an African beauty to an Asian beauty to a European beauty.
Every single pageant has a different view and definition of what beauty is. And I had the privilege of going to both pageants.
But I must say, personally for me, Miss World was for me, because even in my year, I said I actually want to be a girl who's remembered for leaving a legacy behind, a girl who has worked hard and actually made a real difference. And that is why Miss World was more of a pageant for me. Because as corny as it may sound, which is, you know,
you wanted world peace,
but yeah, I wanted to be remembered as one girl who wasn't always just about the media or looking sexy and looking hot, but actually who touched the hearts of South Africans. For me, Miss Universe was very flashy. It was very flashy. I felt so demeaned. There were times, I remember the opening scene whereby we're literally half naked. Gosh, I hated every single moment of that.
So you don't like the bathing costumes?
No, I think there's more to a woman than that. I honestly, truly, honestly believe that. And I always say to people, when people ask, so how do you feel about always wearing swimwear on stage? I said, you know what? Those judges are not looking for the hottest body. They're looking for a woman who is confident in her own skin, who says, this is who I am. And that's how I always go every single time I'm on stage. I say, you know what, I've got curves, I've got the bootay, and I love it.
Got some nice bootay.
Exactly, I'm an African woman, so embrace who you are and what you have and use it. That's it.
Now, I found it quite interesting how people do compare a white Miss South Africa to a black Miss South Africa. And interestingly, in France, what they have is a separate pageant for black women. Do you think that that's still relevant in this day and age?
I think it's extremely disgusting. You know me, and I'll just go straight to the point. And I think people need to get to a point where, regardless of what the color of the skin color of a girl is, you know, she's a representative.
The Miss World and the Miss Universe coming up.
Oh, goodness, yes.
How are you feeling about both pageants?
I'm going to go and win. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have been worthy of the Miss South Africa title, because I have to represent South Africa to the best of my ability, and going there without the will to win would just be doing South Africa
an
not
injustice.
justice. Exactly. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an experience of a lifetime, and that's where, you know, your passion actually shows. Your passion for the South Africans, your passion for your nation actually gets to shine through most.
With us in studio now, we have one of our most visible, successful Miss South Africas internationally, Melinda Bam. Melinda, we all thought you were going to win Miss Universe. What happened?
It was an amazing experience, but I must say it's one that I wouldn't trade for anything, but not necessarily one that I would want again. I think it's a bittersweet experience for me, just because it's really something that I went after, and it came with a bit of a setback, but I'm back home, and I know that this is where I'm appreciated, so I'm thrilled to be back in SA.
Well, you say that. You were appreciated here and worldwide because everybody saw you as the favorite to win Miss Universe. There was also some controversy because I think somebody in America tweeted, they've got a white Miss South Africa.
Yes, we're still having that conversation. Years and years after, we're still having that same conversation.
Yeah, why do you think that is, that race always comes up when one discusses beauty?
I think it's other people just being naive about our country, and I think ultimately they will come to a point where they will understand eventually. Hopefully in the next 20 years somewhere. But I didn't really pay too much attention to that because I knew I went there as a worthy representative of SA and also a different representative just because I wanted to represent something else. I didn't want the African beading in my national costume. I wanted the gold, the platinum, the silver, the glamour. And yeah, I've brought my own flavor and I don't regret a single thing.
Now, in terms of hearing about Miss World and Miss Universe, which is your pageant that you want to win?
My main goal at the moment is the Miss World. The Miss World profile suits me better, or I suit that type of profile better. I'm more the lady, more the calm one, the quiet one, but the powerful one in my own sense. I don't have to be out there, with all respect. I mean, I take my hat off for you, Millens. Like being in my costume and everything.
Look, if I had quads like Melinda Bam, I think everybody would want to live in this
swimsuit pants today. But I think that's another thing people should understand is that every Miss SA is different. You don't get one that's the same as the next.
You can't clone us.
Yes, and the public should also appreciate that because you can say, yes, this Miss SA was your favorite, or that one was a good Miss SA, but we are all different.
Very true.
And you can't just take a generic version of Miss SA and copy and paste it to each girl. embrace the girl for who she is. If she is more quiet and timid, I mean, it is beautiful. You're still a role model. You don't have to be parading around in bikinis or whatever. I mean, everyone has something that sets them apart. And that is what the Miss SA title is about, is embracing who you are, exactly who you are, not trying to change it to adapt to what you see in society, but just being content and living yourself fully.
What do you think defines African beauty? Last question, and think out of the box here, African beauty, because the interesting thing is I'm sitting here looking at a couch of very diverse faces, and each of you represents African beauty.
I think the one thing that I noticed, especially being at Miss Universe, is that South African women are stronger. I wouldn't say stronger than other countries, but we have such a rich culture, and we are feisty women. We have fought through the history, we have fought for our own rights, and I think that's something that's really entrenched in the South African woman. We're not going to sit back and let someone just judge you on your cover. We really have an opinion, and I think that's really something that distinguishes us from other women. We are strong, we have a backbone, and that's something that made me proud to represent South African women at Miss Universe.
It will definitely be our history. I got to ask this question, how do I feel being there as a young black woman at Miss Universe? And I said to them, you know what, I love my country so much, and if it wasn't for the history of my country, I wouldn't even be standing here representing my country. So I think being South African and being a true South African is understanding, embracing, and loving our history and the change and all the experiences we've had as a country. That makes you a beautifully South African woman.
To me, it's definitely our passion. Like history, and like what Melinda also said, it's bringing all the different parts of South Africa and all the different races and cultures and everything together to just build that something. It sounds very cheesy, but that unique country, that rainbow nation, just brings something together. That we've got the Asians, we've got the Indians, we've got all the different types of African cultures. We bring it all together, and it's something that's so unique and so African, and we've got our passion that lies in our hearts, and I think that just shines through to everybody.
Well, looking at you all three here today, I think there couldn't be a prettier couch anywhere in the country. So catch more of us celebrating the strength and power of the women in our nation and on our continent next week.